Imagine a traveler walking through an endless desert under a scorching sun. His throat is parched, his legs are heavy, and his entire existence narrows down to a single, desperate craving: a cold glass of water. In that brutal moment, he tells himself that if he could just taste one cool drop, he would ask for nothing else from this universe for the rest of his days. By some miracle, he stumbles upon a clear spring. He drinks deeply. The agony recedes, and the water tastes like absolute salvation. But 10 minutes later, sitting under the shade of a palm tree, fully hydrated, he doesn't feel continuous euphoria. Instead, he looks down at his worn-out sandals and thinks, "I really need a better pair of shoes for this trek. This simple human tragedy is the heartbeat of our everyday existence." We spend our lives constantly walking toward the next mirage: a promotion, a new home, a financial milestone, or a long-awaited relationship. We convince ourselves that once we reach that specific oasis, the underlying restlessness inside us will finally go quiet. Yet, when the milestone is achieved and the initial surge of dopamine settles, a strange, quiet emptiness returns. We find ourselves sitting under the palm tree, looking for the next thing we lack. Arthur Schopenhauer saw this perpetual itch not as a personal failure or a flaw in our character, but as the fundamental trap of human biology. At the core of his philosophy lies a concept he called the will to live, an irrational, blind, and insatiable force that propels all of nature. It is the raw impulse that drives the root of an oak tree to crack solid concrete in search of water, and the instinct that forces a spider to weave its web in the dark. In animals, this force remains a basic survival mechanism. But in human beings, gifted with complex intellect and self-awareness, the will manifests as something far more psychological: endless, insatiable desire. Schopenhauer famously described human life as a heavy pendulum, swinging back and forth between pain and boredom. When we want something we do not have, we experience the sharp pain of lack and anxiety. Our minds inflate the absent object, convincing us that possessing it is the final missing piece of our happiness puzzle. But the moment that desire is fulfilled, relief is agonizingly brief. The internal tension evaporates, leaving behind a cold, suffocating vacuum: boredom. To save us from this unbearable stillness, our mind instantly fabricates a new desire, kicking the pendulum back into motion and launching us right back into the cycle of longing and suffering. Consider the story of a young man who spends years saving every penny to buy his dream car. He envisions how the engine will sound, how the leather will smell, and how the world will view him when he drives it down the street. For months, this vision keeps him alive through exhausting workdays. Finally, the day arrives. He sits in the driver's seat, turns the key, and experiences an intoxicating rush of pride. But what happens 3 weeks later? The car is simply the vehicle he sits in while stuck in morning traffic. The leather smell is normal. The excitement is gone, replaced by anxiety over the first scratch on the paint or the cost of insurance. The car didn't change. His mind simply reset its baseline. Schopenhauer pointed out a profound psychological illusion. We consistently mistake the temporary absence of pain for positive happiness. Pain and desire are active, immediate forces. Happiness, however, is merely negative, meaning it is simply the brief cessation of suffering. When a severe toothache suddenly stops, you do not experience a thrilling new emotion. You simply notice the quiet absence of pain. Realizing this reveals a sobering truth. Happiness is not a permanent destination, but a brief breathing room between two waves of wanting. In our modern world, this pendulum has been weaponized. We live in a culture built upon the commercialization of our insatiability. Digital algorithms and targeted feeds are carefully engineered to exploit Schopenhauer's pendulum. They constantly highlight what you lack, keeping you in a state of artificial poverty, while offering microdoses of short-lived satisfaction that immediately collapse back into envy and boredom. We spend money we haven't earned to buy things we don't need to impress people we don't even like, all driven by the illusion that the next acquisition will offer permanent peace. So, how do we escape a game that was designed for us to lose? Schopenhauer did not offer empty platitudes, but he pointed toward two powerful sanctuaries. The first is radical self-awareness. When you feel the sharp sting of a new desire, stop and look closely at it, like an archaeologist examining an artifact. Ask yourself, is this genuinely my need, or is it just the blind will trying to keep me running on the wheel? The moment you realize that fulfillment cannot be bought or accumulated, you stop treating life as a math problem that can be solved through acquisition. The second refuge is the quiet magic of art and philosophy. Think of a moment when you are completely spellbound by a magnificent piece of music, a breathtaking painting, or a quiet walk through a deep forest. In those brief seconds, you weren't thinking about your career, your bank account, or your endless to-do list. Your ego stepped back, and your desires went silent. You ceased to be a creature that needed something from the world, and became a pure, dispassionate observer of existence. Schopenhauer believed that aesthetic experience is one of the few moments where the pendulum stops swinging entirely, offering us genuine mental stillness. Ultimately, peace does not come from winning the endless race of desires, but from having the courage to step off the track altogether. It is found in training the mind to stop demanding that reality conform to its endless wants, and instead observing the world with quiet clarity and acceptance. You do not need the next milestone to be complete. You are never incomplete to begin with. Until next time, look Everfar.